is Thursday, August 8th, and what I learned today is just some thoughts that I had about motivation and discipline, and how they sort of relate to each other. I was just kind of thinking about this throughout the day, because I just really had to channel my inner discipline, if you will, today. Like, I had some school to do that I just really didn't want to do, and I had to work out, and it's been the first time in a while, actually, that I, didn't want to work out, but I had to be disciplined and just do the work. Quick side note, I was doing school, I just really didn't want to do the school, but I reminded myself, this is temporary. Once I finish my school, I have the whole rest of the day to do whatever I want, basically. And this is genuinely helping my brain and helping me learn, whereas scrolling on YouTube is not helping my brain and not helping me to learn. That was the first thing I thought. And then second thing, just focusing on the most minuscule task that I can do to move forward in what I don't want to do. So I needed to read my history textbook. And I was like, I don't want to do this because I know this chapter is long. So then I was just like, it's okay because the reading is really easy. It's not a hard read. And I can just bang through it. It'll only take, to read everything I need to read, it'll only take, less than 30 minutes to read 3 chapters. So I'm just like, let's just bang it out. And I just start reading. I had to do math. I didn't want to do math. I was just like, I knew that I had a lot of hard work to do in math. And I was just like, it's okay. Just start reading the lesson. Simplify it for yourself. Take notes and make sure you completely understand it, because once I was comfortable with the material, it was easier for me to continue, because I was just like, oh, I know this, I can do this, it's easier. So that just made everything, when you don't want to do something, simplify it. Make it easy to do, whether that's just focus on the most minuscule task to move you forward, or whether that's to just make sure that you understand it clearly so that it's just easy for you, because doing something is a lot easier if you know exactly what you're doing, and if you know exactly what you're doing. So do the most smallest minuscule task and know exactly what you're doing. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. When you don't have motivation to do something, you don't want to do something that you have to do. But really the main part is I was basically just thinking about how discipline and motivation are related to each other and what their similarities and differences are, kind of. So I was thinking about this while just literally 10 minutes ago, trying to clear it out in my mind. I made this little diagram. I'm going to try to explain to you guys. So there are, in this mental construct, in this diagram, in what I'm talking about, this concept, there are 2 parts of you. There's your ambitious self and your lazy self. So most of the time, definitely not all of the time, but most of the time when you're trying to do a task and you don't want to do it because you're being lazy, and that's probably why you clicked on this video and probably why you're watching this video. Now obviously there are times when you need to do a task and you can't do it because you're physically cannot, or you're in a terrible mental state. There are those situations, but most of the time, especially for me, at least for me, when I don't want to do something, it's because I'm being lazy. So there's your ambitious self and your lazy self. So discipline is when you're pulling from your own ambition to do the task. And it's when you're accessing that part of you that knows you need to do the task, and knows why you're doing the task, and knows what the result will be of doing the task, and pulling from that and using that to fuel your action. Motivation is external, so discipline is internal and motivation is external, and that is when you're pulling from external ambition. So it's when you're pulling from, most of the time, other people's ambition. So you see all these motivational videos, right? Most of the time it's a quote or a story from another person, So let's start with finding your why. Finding your why kind of goes back into discipline in your own internal ambition. Because when you find your why, when you find out why, like what is the goal of completing this task, like what will happen if you complete this task, like what is the result? Why are you doing this? What is the purpose? What is the cause for doing this task? Doing that is helpful for, again, it goes back into discipline and motivation. It motivates you and draws you in from your own internal ambition and discipline. It's kind of a combination of both. It can be used for both motivation and discipline, but mainly discipline. You draw in from your own internal ambition of why you want to do this task. Because if you understand why you want to do something, and it is a strong why, and you know you really want that thing that you will get once you accomplish this task you don't want to do, then that will drive you to actually do this task. So that's the first one. Second one is to just make the process of doing this task you don't want to do, make it something that you do want to do, make it enjoyable. The core issue is the fact that you don't want to do this thing. So if you remove that, if you remove the core issue, then you won't need to rely on discipline or motivation. If you remove the fact that you don't want to do it and instead change it so that you do want to do this thing, and that you make the process enjoyable, then that just completely solves your whole problem, and you can move on. You don't ever need to rely on discipline or motivation for that specific task. Now the question is, how do you make that process enjoyable? That is something that I have been struggling with a lot every school year. I struggle with that. How do I make this school enjoyable? A couple points on that. First of all, I do think that repetition does help with making it not necessarily enjoyable, but doable. And sometimes it does make it more enjoyable. For an example, working out, going to the gym. That is objectively should not be fun. You're literally like not tearing muscles, but you're literally like straining and making your muscles work so hard and like pushing them so hard, and it's painful. It really is, and it's really hard. Like objectively, that should not be enjoyable. But so many people enjoy that. I enjoy it. And the reason why I enjoy it is because of both of these points. Because one, I have my why. I know I want to get stronger and bigger in order so I can be a good ball player and a good baseball or softball player. That's the first thing. Second of all, I have been consistent for pretty much, I skipped like a month, but all of 2024, except for like June, I've been consistent. And at the beginning, I hated it. I really needed to rely on external motivation and internal discipline in order for me to actually like get myself to work out. But once I found my why, and once I started being super consistent, and I didn't want to like break the chain, and I didn't want to break this habit of working out 3 days a week or 4 days a week, like once I got into the rhythm of it, I started to enjoy it. And it is now for like the whole summer, for all of June, and like this end of summer, beginning of August, that it's been the thing that I look forward to during the day, which is not something that I would ever think of saying like at the beginning of the year. It has been something that I've been looking forward to, and that is such a huge accomplishment for me, because I no longer need external motivation or internal discipline. I can just do it. It's automatic. It's something I look forward to, and I genuinely enjoy it, so I can just do it. So I do think that repetition and being consistent with this thing, that is ultimately good for you, because hopefully these tasks that you want to accomplish are hopefully good for you. If something is ultimately good for you, then you will reap the benefits, and you will begin to enjoy it, and you will begin to see how it's affecting you. So that is a big thing that I think about when I'm thinking about trying to make this process enjoyable. It kind of feeds back into the why, and all kind of converges into why you're doing this thing. So to make your process enjoyable, school, I can learn about this cool subject because I do enjoy math. Although trigonometry not so much, but yeah. So ultimately, that is good for me. So yeah, another way to make the process enjoyable is to add additional things onto it that you enjoy. Kind of stack things together. So working out, when I first started working out, I had to listen to music while I'm working out because listening to music is always enjoyable. I'm never not gonna want to listen to music. So if I add that to doing this thing that I don't want to do, then that just makes it enjoyable. I do think that listening to music, whether that's lyrical or instrumental or lo-fi, it doesn't really matter. Listening to music that you like does make any process that you don't want to do, makes it more enjoyable. I do think that is fact. Yeah, that is how I have been thinking about discipline and motivation. I guess to summarize it, you have internal discipline and you have external motivation. Neither of which are sustainable. If you don't want to do something, then don't only have your discipline and motivation to rely on. You need to focus on finding your why and making your process enjoyable. So, if you are watching this video, if you are needing to do school, needing to do work, needing to do some random task, and you are watching this video, your action point is to number 1, find your why. It takes 5 minutes. Just figure out, why am I going to do this today? Number 2, get some music going. Just fine. If you're doing something like math, if you're doing school, then I recommend listening to lo-fi music or instrumental music because adding lyrics just doesn't make it very easy. So get some music. So find your why and get some music. And third of all, understand that what you're doing will benefit you. In the long term, it benefits you. And future you will be grateful that you did that thing. So yeah, find your why, listen to music, understand that it's ultimately better for you, and fourth of all, do the smallest thing to get started. The hardest part is getting started, so just do the very smallest thing. For me, when I had to do history, the very smallest thing was to literally read one word. Once I read the first word, I read the second word. Once I read the second word, I read the third word, and I just kept reading. So do the smallest thing that will get you closer to finishing that task. So yeah, I didn't really expect this video to be this long, but I'm grateful that I was able to literally spend 5 minutes just thinking through the similarities and differences between discipline and motivation, and I was able to put it on paper and to share it. So if you found this helpful, then definitely like the video and subscribe because I'm posting every day what I learned that day, trying to make them more high quality, maybe show you guys the diagrams more, and just explain my thought process. Anyways, this is the final diagram that I had, if you want to look at that. So, yeah, definitely subscribe for daily videos, daily posting. Yeah, I thought this was a banger video, so share it with someone if you think they would benefit from it. And yeah, subscribe.